Hey pod people, Engineer Adam here, jumping in for a quick second to let you know about the brand new all-in-one platform for all of you creative podcasters out there. Anchor makes it easier than ever to make a podcast. It's free to use and has all the creation tools you need to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Plus, Anchor will get your podcast set up on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever podcasts are found. Even better, Anchor helps you connect with sponsors, even if you're just starting out. It's the perfect choice for podcasters, so make sure to check it out. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.fm. Back to the show.
Consequence Podcast Network.
People, Lior Phillips here with This Must Be the Gig, your backstage pass to the world of live music. Every single week we bring you fascinating conversations from the beating heart of the performance scene with some of the most exciting names on this gigantic, big, spongy globe. We talk passion, we talk first concerts, insights into the creative mind during this truly unusual time, and everything in the juicy center. Today, I'm delighted to bring you a conversation with Nigel Godrich and Laura Bettinson, who, along with Joey Warinker, comprise Ultraísta.
But it's all supposed to be completely surreal. It's not supposed to make any sense.
The trio have just released their much-anticipated, 8 years to be exact, second album titled Sister. And along with this episode, you can head to the link in the pod description or travel over to Consequence of Sound to experience for yourselves the world premiere of a brand new short film by Ultraísta. Oof, and the band's pedigree is nothing short of awe-inspiring. Nigel's history as a Grammy-winning engineer, producer, and musician includes 2 decades helping shape the era-defining records of Radiohead, Atoms for Peace, and life-shifting music, rewiring our brains to unravel inside of the sound. Joey, meanwhile, the venerable veteran drummer, has toured and recorded with countless legendary acts including R.E.M., Elliott Smith, Beck, David Byrne, and also plays alongside Godrich and Tom York in Atoms for Peace. Laura has long been lauded for her layered electropop as Femme. Now, 8 years since their debut album, Sister amplifies and strengthens their already assured electronic compositions, a poignant and passionate sci-fi soundtrack for the beautiful absurdity of life. It is a really moving piece of work, a twisting rhythmical journey with hi-fi production and kinetic turns and unexpected arrangements. With both Sister and the accompanying film, the trio deftly walk a fine line between taut control and expansive exploration. And there are dogs. So I hopped on the phone with Nigel and Laura recently to discuss the origins of Sister. Unfortunately, this chat was actually scheduled to happen mid-March in New York City, but the remote conversation was just as wonderful. We spoke about the accompanying short film, their multiple dashed attempts at performing in the US, and their first concerts, as well as what they miss about the outside world right now, and so much more. Let us not be delayed. This is me, Nigel, and Laura. Enjoy and take care of yourselves, please.
I've actually had a fairly unproductive day. Last week was really productive. I felt when we first kind of got stricter regulations, I was like, this is okay, I'll just work on some new music and this will be great and make the most of my time at home. And then this week, for some reason, just today, I'm just like, ugh, fuck.
Right, and now the week of this.
Yeah, just like lost my mojo a bit today. So I've been painting instead of making any music today.
Sometimes it's hard to compartmentalize like how dire the situation is outside. But then when you get stuck in, like I've been watching the film that you both created and your team created like the whole morning. And then I get that momentary escape and then I'm back, reading Twitter or something.
It's like a dream.
Do you feel like that as well?
I would say like being a creative in inverted commas, all that means is that you don't, you can have a lot of lie-ins voluntarily. So you sort of have a different kind of way of kind of orienting yourself in the world anyway. I mean, we get out of bed later than other people, I think. I do. But generally what you're talking about is the the fact that it's like you kind of have this weird resetting of you start the day with an expectation, and within 30 seconds you remember that this is not happening.
Right.
And I think we've had some really amazing weather, and now today it's just a bit grey and overcast, and I don't even know what day it is. I think it's Monday. I actually called Laura on Saturday because I thought this interview, this is a true story, I thought this interview was on 2 days ago, not because I thought it was Monday amazing. Then. I just didn't know what day it was.
Know what day.
I just knew that I had an interview. Oh, right. Well, I just knew we had an interview at 6 o'clock. So I just,
oh my God.
I just forgot that there were days. I just thought all days were the same day. So I just thought it was at 6 o'clock.
Us three were going to do a live audience interview talking about the film, talking about the new album.
Yeah, I mean, it became pretty clear that we weren't able to do our little promo trip. It was just when things were kicking off. So it's good that we didn't come, because we would have got stuck somewhere.
Did you talk about that, like the what if scenario? Like, how much did your brain go down that route?
When the album came out, when was that? A few weeks back. We just finished a really couple of intense weeks with Joey. We were rehearsing. We played a couple of little tiny private kind of press shows, and we were just, I think I was certainly just relieved that we managed to just get him here, get all that out of the way for at least for our like UK kind of team and press and things like that before it all really kicked into gear, because we would have been so the whole thing would have been derailed had it just even been a week later. Joey wouldn't have been able to make it. We wouldn't have been able to do any of the things we planned.
He would have been stuck here.
Yeah, it would have completely have like put up quite a big spanner in the works of getting this record out.
Before the first show in the US, you had to head back to the UK. Wasn't Joey's son going to be born, or was born or something?
Yeah, that was back in 2012. So when we were promoting our first album, we had a little run of like US dates booked. It was, about 10 dates or something across North America. And we were at the sound check for our first ever show in Philadelphia, wasn't it? I think it was Philadelphia. One little hit on his snare drum, and then got a call from his wife, and she was going into labour, like 6 weeks, kind of prematurely. So he had to get on a plane back to LA, and then me and Nigel were all kind of dumbfounded for a couple of days, and then we managed to get our stuff together, and me and Nigel went to Tokyo to perform as a duo for the first and last time we'll probably ever do that.
The greatest duo you never saw.
Yes.
Joe's a very kind of kinetic person in terms of performer and stuff. He's somebody that you sort of tend to rely on having that person on stage, and suddenly not having that person on stage, it changed the whole thing. So, I mean, we did it though. I mean, that is definitely one of the two moments in my life where I literally, that moment before the curtains opened, when we were getting ready to do that show in front of 10,000 people in Japan with just Laura and I, and we heard the computer failing because it had this thing it kept on doing. It had this like really bad habit where it would do this thing and not work properly, and I heard it happen, and I just said, beam me up. It's not happening. But we got through it, and I'm very proud of us. There's even pictures to prove it.
Wait, is there a video? Is there a YouTube video? Oh no,
no, they didn't have videos in 2012.
Then the next time you were slated to come to the US, Hurricane Sandy hit.
We had to do a TV. We had to do David Letterman with the crew in the TV studio had been sleeping in the theatre for 3 days because they couldn't go home because the whole of Manhattan was locked down. There was no power south of 20th Street. It was quite surreal, wasn't it, Laura?
Yep, that's another one. Yeah, I mean, we did warn people at the beginning of this album campaign, hopefully not coming to a city near you, because we do have a habit of catastrophe following us around, and this is of epic proportions this time. So.
Yeah, this is a good one, right?
Yeah, I don't think we should make a third record, basically.
No, please do. This is a petition. Please do. I just don't think you need to put any tour dates to the US on your list, and then you just saying, "Hey, we're
just
here."
Show up.
Yeah, just show up.
Not give them a chance to get a plague of frogs together or anything.
Exactly. When I went for a little walk, I was just wondering like what I would want to be doing right now if I wasn't in isolation, which I feel as a person who I've worked from home for like over a decade, and I feel isolated when I work anyway, so it doesn't feel very unfamiliar to me. But
it's more like just social thing. You're going out to like a nice meal, or like to be able to go and just be around other people, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing that's missing now, because we're the same. I mean, we essentially, the people I know who are musicians, generally we all work in isolation anyway. I mean, we're all in very, very small groups, so people can actually keep on with work as long as they can keep their perspective, vis-a-vis Laura this morning getting depressed.
Yeah, I think it's just the unending kind of nature of it right now that's just like bogging people down. It's like we don't really know when you'll get to see all your friends again, you know, and the idea of it being strung out for, 6 months is just like, whoa, like, that's going to be mad. So hopefully it is
very strange. I feel I worry that after 6 months of doing this, people are just going to be so weird about social interaction.
Right. Right. That's such a good point.
No, I'm worried. I'm worried that people will never, people are going to be more suspicious of each other's vapor than ever before.
No, yeah.
There's definitely, I asked people this, and there's definitely two camps. Some people think that after this is over, people are just going to it's going to be like a new summer of love, and everyone's want to take their clothes off and like smear each other, But I don't know. I think if it's long enough, if we're apart for long enough, it may become the new normal. And, it's so strange how the way that coronavirus, the information is disseminated, perfectly as a parallel of, the way that social media is the way that people access their information now, is that somehow social media is like morphing into our main form of social interaction, and maybe that is never going to change. This is how we took a leap into the future, and maybe we're going to be stuck there. It's quite weird, scary.
Other than the social aspect, is there something about yourselves that you miss, like just the way that you work or the way that you look at the world? Like, is there anything that you aren't able to kind of tap into right now?
Well, the weird thing is I have a new baby, and so what's happened is that I'm stuck inside with my new baby, which has just been really great. So I'm actually finding that kind of a part of it. I'm surprised at how relaxed I am. I mean, I'll admit, I agree with Laura. Today's a bit weird, but it's been actually quite nice to have to stop.
For just today, say last week was very productive. I got lots of work done last week. Just today, it's like the idea of sitting down and making
bloody Wednesdays
kind of just the same process that I've had forever. It's just like, it seems just like, sometimes you just feel like, ugh. There's so much like sometimes music, you just feel like, it's a privilege to be able to make music every day, but then you think, fuck, all the fucking serious other jobs out there that people are like doing, and you're just sat here coming up with another fucking beat or like some shitty pop hook, and you're like, my God, what am I doing?
Right.
So you're self-loathing. That's what you're.
Look at a few, and it feels like the record has been like of great comfort to a lot of people, and a lot of people have spent some time with it while they have been indoors, finding their way through it, which is obviously amazing. It's great to get feedback like that.
Why did you find yourselves making it now and releasing it now? What was that sense of urgency for you?
Well, the thing is, that I think Laura might agree with this, is that, there she is, left to her own devices, and me the same. Is generally what we do is we just make things, we make bits of music, or we make whatever, she's drawing now, or she's painting, whatever it is that she's doing. Or I think that just as human beings, we're compelled to sort of, just create things and express ourselves through these things. And sometimes they're for ourselves, and sometimes they're for other people. And I think that what happened was that we spent a lot of time just noodling around with something that was just for ourselves, and then at some point realized that in order to kind of really justify its existence, we should probably present it as a piece of work, and that is the record. So really there was a lot of time where it was kind of sat around, it got picked up, put down again, and then a couple of years ago it was like, okay, we need to, that urgency that you speak of kicked in very gently.
Let's talk a little bit about the short film, because obviously we're going to be premiering it today. I can say
very exciting. Wednesday. Yeah. Every day is Wednesday.
Every day is Wednesday.
It was Wednesday, 2 days ago.
So when was it all filmed? How long did it take you? And also, congratulations on your baby. I didn't get a chance to say that earlier. So tell me all about the film.
Well, the concept for the film was birthed, if you like, about 18 months, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And for a long time, like with our first record, we were kind of making the videos. Nigel had a lot of ideas that he'd been wanting to try in terms of visual ideas and a lot of equipment and things like that we had set up at the same time as finishing the actual audio for the record. So we were doing both things at the same time.
Oh.
That didn't quite happen in the same process for this record, but we knew we wanted to make a leap visually. Like, we didn't want to just repeat what we'd done before using the same gear and like treading like the path that we'd done before. We wanted to take it somewhere else, and it took us quite a while to figure out what that was going to be. And then Nigel and I sat down and had dinner one night and came up with this kind of idea between us of like a strange kind of surreal little day in the life around London. And much of it was filmed just me, Nigel, and one other person, our friend Pippa, carrying the bags in like the dead of the early mornings in London and say late evenings, and, you know, me freezing my arse off in not very much clothes in the middle of February, and, you know, and it took a while to film, but we just snatched time, much like how we made the record. We just snatched bits of time when we could.
What we were trying to think of when we sat down, because we had such a wealth of video content before for the last record to just mine, to use for promotional stuff and use for the live show, what we were trying to think of was some kind of overreaching arc thing that we could just use as a sort of bridge to dip in and pick out images and photos and stills, and just something that would be the kind of promotional tool for the whole record, that would felt like it was part of something sewn into the whole album. And so the idea was to create like this day in the life thing, which was sort of predominantly based around colour and the tube line, the London Underground, which I'm just obsessed with, and which is denominated by colours. You know, different lines are denominated by different colours, and actually, if you pay close attention, you'll see that Laura gets on and off in different colours depending on what line she's on.
Yes.
And actually does like a real journey around London, except for one tiny little place that we had to cheat. And the whole idea is that it generates all these that every time she goes somewhere, she enters a different vignette, like a small sort of like mini video within the video. So each song has like a different kind of like a mini video within it that then is something that stands up on its own that we can use. So it was really fun. I mean, it was really like one of those stupid, like all-arching, like over-ambitious ideas that took forever to do. But man, it feels good when you actually finish those things.
Just when I was watching it, like the film's ability to bounce like back and forth from this kinetic energy to these like almost still life moments, from extreme close-ups to really widescreen. I felt it was very intimate, weirdly. And Laura, you were in this, you know, city that is so loud and so busy, but I felt like the use of the colors and the storytelling, and then matching that up and syncing it with the music, those certain choices were so smart. Like there was so much closeness and warmth. Maybe that's because of the dogs. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, there's some amazing dog moments that, you know. How did the colors fit the mood of the dog? Like, how did you decide? Right, I'm going to have a husky or like a dasher. You know what I mean, with the blue, or how did you link that up? And then I suppose, like, how did you make sure that the music fit that mood as well?
Honestly, in terms of casting the dogs, it was, who do we know that has a dog? Won't mind us stealing it for a day. And we knew we wanted different sizes and different breeds, but it wasn't as specific as we want a husky for the blue outfit or anything like that. It was really just like, who can we grab and cast on the day? But like going back to, you said that the film feels intimate, and I think a lot of that is down to the fact that it really has just been made by us.
Agreed.
You know, it wasn't like 10 people or even like 20, 30, 40 people on set, like making, and it wasn't, it was all styled by me. I did my own makeup, Nigel shot the whole thing. He edited it. It was all, just our effort and our energy. And I think that's probably, it is really DIY, and it is kind of lo-fi in places, but like, it has, when you make things on your own and you make all the creative decisions as an artist, like it really lends stuff like an authenticity and a charm that you don't really get when you're like, you let other bigger kind of professional hands on things. I'm not sure it would have worked as well. We would have needed a fuck ton of money to do it. Like,
yeah, it just wouldn't have been possible. It wouldn't have been possible. We love doing things like this, and this is, you know, as well as making the music, which is what we do essentially because we love doing it. We love making projects like this, so it's like that's the reason for the existence of Ultraísta, really, is for us, a vehicle for us to be able to hang things like this on it. And so it's super DIY, because I don't want somebody else to shoot it, because I want to shoot it, you know. Right. Maybe it's like, it's fun, well, I want to do that, you know, so why not shut up and actually do? So that's what we did, you know. And Laura's brilliant at, like, her skills are amazing in front of the camera, and, like, you know, we're just sort of like, there's a real kind of, I don't know, we have a lot of fun together. There's a real camaraderie about it, I feel like, and a lot of trust. I mean, she's very trusting, and
or foolish, depending on which way you look at it.
I think very. Oh,
he
you've never been
say that.
Yeah. Not physically hurt ever. No, but I mean, the thing is, but the truth is, you do actually create something that would be impossible to make otherwise. I mean, it really is literally, we made it. I mean, we made the record, we made the videos. It's like, that's what it's all about.
How much did it switch both of your perspectives of the music that you had made when you started putting that visual component?
I don't think it changes the way that you see the music. I think that they are little pieces that are conceived as things that go with particular, like colours that go with a particular song, or like an idea that goes with a particular song, but they're not like traditional videos, you know. They're not like in themselves, the whole thing is chronological, but the little pieces don't have, well, I suppose they do. I don't know. It's not like that. It's just a vignette is the right way to describe the little pieces, because they're just supposed to be little kind of doodles, really, you know. And the whole thing is supposed to give you some insight into the people who are involved in the making of the music, but it's all supposed to be completely surreal. It's not supposed to make any sense or have any relation to the actual songs themselves, really. Was
there a scene or a moment that was particularly interesting to shoot? I mean, other than the logistics of it, which I don't know how difficult that was, but was there
a somewhat harder than others?
Probably Anybody video was probably the most exhausting to shoot, just because the studio was freezing and we didn't have that long to shoot it, and so we were just we were there, like, you know. And it was a fun video, and I think it's one of the ones that's turned out the best from the whole thing. Is a standout image, like visual for me. But I remember being not very comfortable shooting it. But then when we went to the very first things you see after I'm sat up on Primrose Hill, that was shot at like 5 in the morning, 4:30, which would have meant I'd had to have left my house at like 4 in the morning to get there. And it was freezing. We were shooting it in like January. I mean, I have a big coat on, but you know, we went all out, didn't we? Yeah.
But that was the thing. The point is, and I don't know if it comes across, but that is in real time. Like, you know, you see the sun come up and you see her get up and walk down the hill and then get into the tube at Chalk Farm, which is a black line. Mm-hmm. And she we get on the tube. We did it at that time because we wanted to get the sunrise, but also I just wanted to sort of, you know, it was the first thing that we shot, and also getting on the tube without anybody around, just to see if we could, you know, how it was just to film on the tube. And then I think as we kind of went forward, by the end of it, we just didn't give a shit anymore. So we kind of get on the tube with our camera and nobody. It's like, fuck it. You know, you start off being a little bit, because it was like, okay, we need to finish this. Right. You know, there's this like list of things that we have to get done. So by the end, but actually it's true. It's still correct, because the last time she gets on the tube to leave, it's late at night and she goes back out the hill. Mm. And the people that are on the tube are on the tube, you know. Every time it's all sort of, I mean, in a way as well, I have a sort of weird kind of fetish about like documentaries about London Underground, but I have a lot of like sort of films of the tube from a long time ago, and it's just interesting seeing people sat there, what people look like. You know, these trains are essentially the same, but people change over time, and I sort of felt quite pleased that we were creating, again, another snapshot of what the London Underground was like, you know, in 2018, 2019, you know. Maybe it'll never be like that ever again. It'll always be, now it's going to be empty forever.
Or
but
everybody's got masks on from
everyone will
here on
always
out.
have masks on. It's
God.
like pre-mask.
Yeah, what it looks like.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so there was that aspect to it as well. It was like the whole kind of London Underground obsession thing. And then so that in terms of the day, the chronology of the day, that's true. She starts off at 5 a.m, and we end up back up there at like 11 o'clock at night. So yeah, I think poor Laura went through a lot. She had some environmental hazards, and probably some personal damage at some point. I think the doors were really interesting. The doors were a really fun thing to shoot, because it's like when you set up a technical, it's just a presumptive. It's like you set up a scenario, and it's like, okay, we can do anything with this. Like I knew that I could create that thing where, when you walk out of one door and you walk into another, you walk back in the first door. The idea was that you're opening the second door, and the first door is opening as if you were walking in a loop. Mm-hmm. And then you can sit back and just think about all the things that you can do with that, to play with that idea. Things like that are really, really fun, and bordering on sort of ludicrous, really. And it's definitely like sort of harking back to kind of silent era, very basic technical photographic techniques of making these impossible things happening, George Méliès, or whatever, the kind of stars of Chaplin, or I don't know, like all those kind of things. So those are the most fun things to do, and that was the idea. Or like doing a really simple stop motion thing. I mean, I didn't know how well it would turn out, and it worked really well. Or the stuff about the face, like painting dressing the face. It's like there's a surreal film that I saw once that did a bit of that, which gave me that idea, and then also, and the strobe stuff, it like the cover. So for example, like the cover of the album is a photograph that I took,
really?
Because I knew, I took that photo because I knew that was exactly what I wanted it to look like.
Oh.
So it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I want to do that. So I did it. And in that way, we got so much good. It's based on, one of my favorite photographers, this American guy called John Milley. Okay. I don't even know how to pronounce it. He's a Hungarian American guy, and he did a lot of in-camera strobe shots of ballerinas and jazz musicians in the 50s, and some very famous pictures of Picasso that are all just incredible. They look so beautiful, and it's very much, it's that kind of a picture. But in that way, then I sort of think about strobes and think that we could like make a video with this technique. How can we make this happen, but it be moving, and that sort of, with experimentations, come up with that last video. It's just like fun. It's stuff like that. It's fun. I just love doing it.
Is that the video, the Tin King?
Yeah,
that
exactly.
part. Okay. I mean, that made me feel. Would you remember the Madonna?
Ray of Light. Somebody else said Ray. Yeah, I did think about that. I think Ray of Light is just sped up, isn't it? And the thing about that is it's not
so
sped
different.
up.
Right. No, it's so different.
But I understand. It's just more like the perspective, isn't it?
Well, I also think that there's a lack of that now. It's not really something that I think it's something that people should explore more, to have that vignette that you were talking about, to have the main subject right in the center. It's almost reminded me of, like, I don't know, do you remember that really old Massive Attack video for Unfinished?
Yeah, Unfinished Sympathy. Yeah, I can't remember the video for that, actually.
She's just walking down the street singing to the camera.
Oh, yeah,
and
I do remember that.
she's the focal point, but she's, again, it's that sense of warmth and intimacy that really you both tapped into, which I thought was just really wonderful. I mean, I think the thing there's been a real, legacy of music videos. It's still something that I feel compelled to want to do, and I think it's something that we both wanted to sort of create something like that, and it was great. It was like that thing where we sat down, like Laura said, we just had dinner, and we just sort of thought, well, let's make a short film, and then how do we do it? And the vehicle for like all the shorter pieces, and it just sort of made a lot of sense. So we just wrote it all down, and then went away and filled in the blanks. And it took a little bit of time. All three of you, Joey included, have such specific personalities and histories, and just even talking to the two of you, was there ever a conversation about having one person's voice or characteristics that you wanted to bring to light, maybe on the record or during the film? Like, how much did you discuss that sense of, you know, how we're going to put forward our voices to make sure that we're all getting heard? And like, how does that process work with collaboration with the three of you?
I mean,
we don't
discuss it.
Do we?
Right.
No, we don't. It's no, there's very little discussion when we're making this stuff, to be honest. So certainly a lot of the music, the bare bones of it, the very initial seeds of it are born out of improvisation. So in that setting, like, naturally you're all having your own say, you know, because you're contributing something that's you've never come up with before, you know. It's like it's something you've just thought of in that moment. So I think from the very beginnings of making the music, we all have ourselves in there from the very start. And then really this record was made over such a long time, and Nigel certainly spent a lot of time on his own with this record, revisiting it and hacking away at it, while me and Joey were blissfully kind of unaware and getting on with other stuff in the meantime. Yeah, I don't think we ever really have to have that conversation, to be honest, because I think the elements that you hear and also certainly see, like, you can see there's space for everybody, you know. I think,
you know, music is a particular art form that you can interact with other people. In fact, it's very much the basis. You know, I mean, you can make music on your own, but music with a band, you know, music with a bunch of people, it's the way of people communicating and sort of throwing things up in the air. It's the foundation of every musician's sort of what they do. I mean, you can't all paint a picture together, you know. I mean, it's too difficult because you just get in each other's way. So when we say we don't have to have that conversation, I think the thing is that what you do is you generally find people that you try and play with, and if it goes well, then it goes well. You don't sort of have a conversation about what you're going to do. What I can say is that, you know, I've known Joey for so long that we just actually don't need to, you know, we have a very good communication anyway, verbally, but we don't need to, you know, we've played together quite a lot, so that's really easy. And the whole point of getting Laura involved was the fact that what she does is very compatible with the kind of elements of what we do. Like she's saying, there's room for what everybody does. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like not really necessary to really sort of intellectualize it in a way. It's sort of, you know, we just do our thing, and then it's about like trying to find chords and melodies and words and sticking it all together. And then beyond that, I don't really know how it works. If we actually had a setup live where Joey and Laura and I could stand there and I could make musical loops and she could make vocal loops and Joey could play along and we could record the whole thing. So that was a way of like instantly making music in the air. Mm-hmm. That sort of, then a few of those, sometimes things will really kind of develop and blossom. And a few of those magical moments are the basis of some of the songs on the record. And that's a good way of starting. And beyond that, it's about just sitting down with a piece of paper, and just a metaphorical piece of paper. Of course, we're talking about a computer here, and or jamming.
I mean, I think it's fascinating, especially because performance is definitely something that's for both of you what I'm interested in as well. Do you remember the first time the two of you performed together? Do you remember that very first time? Other than obviously the Japan episode, but
I would probably say that Japan was the first.
Was it?
I'm just saying, like, sort of on a deeper level. I'm not a performer. That's not my thing. You know, Laura is. So, you know, that whole thing is quite alien to me, but I enjoy it. But it's just not something that I ever sort of naturally ever did. Laura is much more of a background and experience than me.
I'm trying to think, what was the first ever gig we played? It was in LA, way back. We threw this little party in what used to be a place where they grew weed, we later found out. It was like a massive greenhouse in LA somewhere. You'll probably remember where it was, Nigel.
Eagle Rock.
And we just did it again in a very DIY fashion. We just threw a party for our friends there. And I mean, I don't ever remember I've always felt very secure on stage with Nigel and Joey, you know, and I guess when it comes to the stage, certainly that is one area so I have possibly a little bit more experience than Nigel, but there's very few areas in this project where I have more experience than Nigel, obviously. So
please,
nice. Quite nice. But no, there's always, I've never felt at all intimidated by that at all. It's actually quite a privilege to be able to step out on stage with two friends who are also very, very, very talented and obviously the best at what they do. So that's always is a pleasure.
The thing is as well, I'm not used to it. Really isn't what I ever set out to do when I was younger. I always wanted to just be the guy in the laboratory in the middle of the night who's left alone, and that's sort of that's when I'm at my best, to be honest. The chance to do shows and stuff, now I've done a lot more stuff all over with different kinds of things. It's been really like a sort of I've been a late comer to that, and I've really, really enjoyed it actually, just by chance. And I think that's just because I sort of managed to kind of bypass the really, really terrible times. I've never played in a pub to one person, or have I? Maybe.
Laura, you wound up playing Glastonbury. I think I read it somewhere like in 2000 and when was it? It was 10 years, 2008 or 2009. I think I read. I don't know if that's
2009. Yeah.
I mean, that's a massive, massive stage. And obviously just watching you perform, I've never had the chance to see you live. But what was that like for you to take something that is quite a private experience and then go onto such a massive platform like a Glastonbury? I
got to say, in my, what year are we in? 2020, so like professionally been in the music industry since then, probably 2009. So, 11 years of being in the industry. Like I've learned to kind of ride the waves of the industry. Like, you can have mega highs, but then there's also like moments where there's nothing going on and you've got to figure your shit out and and then suddenly it all comes along again, and right now is one of those moments where there's lots of momentum around, lots of different projects that I'm involved in. It's super exciting, but this will fade as well.
The truth of it is that basically if you engage with that experience, you get a lot more out of it than if you don't engage with it. So you can do terrifying things and not be afraid of them because you're not really present, but then you don't get the benefits of actually having been there and experienced them. So, my experience of going on stage is as your confidence grows, you are more able to just relax. But when you were really, really afraid, you were far more kind of engaged. Yeah, I mean, I'm always impressed by people who can get up and put themselves out there on stage, like really make yourself vulnerable. And that is the definition of a good performance, isn't it? That's something that's worth watching.
Do you remember the very first concert that you went to?
Yeah, well, I grew up in like a village outside of Rugby in the Midlands in the UK, and not awful lot went on there. But certainly when I was growing up, there was quite a healthy like local scene and bands would come through. And I have an older sister who's a few years older than me, so she would like go to shows and take me with her and, get me in underage. So in all honesty, I didn't really see any like big name bands ever growing up because my mum and dad weren't gig goers. Like my dad was a theatre director, so I spent a lot of my school holidays in a dark theatre, watching him rehearse these shows. Actually didn't really even grow up around that much music. So yeah, it probably wasn't until I was in London where I actually started to kind of seek out like, more well-known bands and see kind of more professional concerts. But yeah, the whole entirety of my adolescence was stuck in this club in London, in Rugby called O'Hagan's, which was a shitty, gothy rock club, and like watching crap emo bands that you were in love with because you fancy the guitar player, or, that kind of thing, So I don't specifically remember my first ever concert, but I've certainly seen a fair few shitty emo bands.
Then it's just coming from a theatrical point of view, which I really think is quite fascinating, that's what your your dad was involved in, because obviously a lot of that can be used to perform music as well. Like I think both of those lines are very blurred between a theatrical performance and a musical performance as well. When you did land up seeing bigger names or more identifiable kind of characters on stage, was there anyone that really resonated with you in terms of how they performed?
Absolutely. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of like massive, overblown female voices. So, your Shirley Bassey's and Dusty Springfield's and, just those kind of a lot of 60s voices that I kind of, would just be in awe of a lot of the time when I was listening to those records. And I'd watch, say when I was a student, certainly stay up on YouTube and just like go down the rabbit hole of starting at Bjork and ending up somewhere at Dusty Springfield in between kind of Sinead O'Connor and other places in between. So they've certainly, I guess we'll say my dad's like musical theatre career was very successful in that world, but it was like old icons, Buddy Holly and Al Jolson and Elvis and things like that. So I guess I was quite kind of fascinated by like 60s music television, I guess, and that experience of just watching the shows that he put on would send me down that rabbit hole, and I guess that certainly influenced my approach to my own performance in terms of it was quite camp and it was quite overblown, and the stage performance certainly for my own solo project was always very considered. It was very choreographed, and that's what I loved about pop music, harking way back from the 50s and 60s, is it's all so choreographed and considered a lot of the time. So that was certainly an influence on me. But when it comes to this project, I'd probably say that like Ultraísta for me and the voice I bring to that is its own entire thing. And I do flip into a different voice and headspace when I approach songs as Ultraísta. And even when people like other DJs ask me now, having heard Ultraísta, and they're like, oh, can you vocal this for me? Can you vocal that for me? Like, it's a conscious space I step into when I know that's the voice they want. It's like, okay. And I guess I've always, I like writing music in different characters, I suppose. And Ultraísta has, it's an honest voice. It's probably one of my more honest voices, but it's certainly a space I have to like get my head into to approach that style.
Does that make it then, like, I suppose the idea of like doing multiple things at once and stepping into a character, then it's focused and considered? Does that make it more, I don't know, enjoyable for you to tackle projects that way? Because obviously I find it quite fascinating to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I would kind of liken it to, like, as a kid, my mum and dad laugh about this even now because my niece is quite similar, but like I would dress up in 6 different outfits a day. I've always enjoyed like making like reinvention, and all my favorite pop art like icons, Prince and Madonna and all these people have always reinvented themselves, and I've been fascinated by that process in pop since forever. More so than the music is the visual kind of aesthetic of being able to build yourself like a superhero almost, like it's an overblown version of yourself. And yes, there's authenticity and your true personality in there, but it's like this super, I love the possibilities that like the visual kind of pop side and the pop world kind of can like lend to yourself as an artist. You can step in and out of different sides of your personality without being too confessional. And I've always enjoyed that. And I would liken it to that. It's like I have many plates spinning at all times, lots of different genres I lend my voice to and that I produce. And so Ultraísta is another side of my personality, really.
You've worked with so many different people and as a producer for so many legendary Radiohead albums and Beck, and looking at those people, they each are your performers, essentially. So do you feel like you approach that in a way where you have to take into account who this person is, what they need?
Every relationship is different. Each one of those things is a collaboration with a different personality. It's a very intimate relationship, and you do different things and feed off each other in different ways and find strengths and all those kind of things. And then this is completely different. This is like what we did when we were kids, and we went around to each other's houses and made music and just made stuff. And so it's quite a different feeling. It's not, none of it is professional, it's all definitely kind of rooted in I mean, it's professional in inverted commas, but it's not. It's just basically doing what you love. I mean, I feel very, very fortunate to have worked with so many amazing, talented people and been inspired by all these people who, and then do good things with them. And there's nothing better than creating something, knowing your contribution to something great with somebody else. That's the most sort of rewarding experience that you can have in any, from my point of view.
Yeah.
And that's no different here. I mean, you know, it's like with Laura and Joey, it's like it's really, really, but it's just much more fun. We're much more in control, and it's less sort of it's slightly less heavy or something. I don't know. I can't really explain it. We don't have a, you know, there's no, you know, I'm saying we're not like it's not imperative. We just have done this because we wanted to. And we found ourselves just as friends, just working together, and it just being a really enjoyable experience. So that's really the kind of like, and in that way, it sort of creates something that's really nice because it is done out of the sheer fuck of doing it. You know, it's not like a, you know, we got the label deal afterwards so that we can put it out, but we're not under any imperative.
Did you think about your first concert that you ever went to, Nigel?
Yeah, no, I know. It was, I went to see Susie and the Banshees in 1985 or something like that. And it was a famous show because she dislocated her kneecap. It was terrible. The whole thing was brought to an early end because she turned in the middle of Happy House and like dislocated her patella. It was really painful and was in absolute agony and carried off stage, and they had to end the concert early. But I was such a fan of that band, and you know, that was quite a big night for me. Hammersmith Odeon.
Seeing somebody like Susie perform,
yeah,
that is potentially very life-changing. But how did you, as you don't call yourself a performer and you do have many hats, but then going from a producer for, you know, a lot of Radiohead albums to being then on stage, what did you draw from? And then also with Laura and Joey, what did you draw from to be able to perform? How did you get into that set of like, right, this is the new, you know, this is what I'm going to have to do now? I guess I don't come from a sort of theatrical standpoint, so I'm not thinking of presenting myself like essentially the opposite to what Laura was just saying. I don't, right. You know, I'm not doing costume changes. I'm just, it's more like about actually just playing whatever instrument or playing whatever thing I'm doing is. So that's probably more rooted in just early experiences in bands when I used to play when I was younger. And just when you spend a lot of time playing music with other people, and it's more just of the kind of, philosophy of expressing yourself through playing your instrument rather than putting on a show. So I'm never like, I don't engage with the audience. Basically, I suppose that's what I'm saying. When I'm playing, I'm just engaging with my instrument, and you can watch. But do you enjoy it? Like, is that something that you enjoy? Yeah. No, it's great. I love it, and I don't think I could have done it as a younger person. I think it's definitely we change as we age, and I feel much more comfortable now. Yeah. Definitely. I feel more comfortable on stage. Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, for sure. Certainly. I'm not sure if it's specific to stage, but I think you can apply it to in all aspects of life. You obviously do become way more confident as you get older because you've had more experiences and you see certain scenarios happening again, and then you suddenly, oh, I've seen this before. I know how to handle this, you know. So, like, absolutely, I'm more comfortable in my 30s than I was in my teens or 20s. It's probably a little bit less self-conscious in my... No, actually, that's not true. No, I wasn't less conscious on stage in my 20s or more self-conscious now on stage. It's just, you know yourself better, you know? I know myself better now than I did. I mean, I was 20 when I met Nigel. I was 20 years old. Wow. And I was utterly fearless because I had nothing to lose. And right, exactly. You know, I was just starting my like steps into the industry and onto like my musical career. So, you know, I was completely almost, you know, a blank slate, but also very fearless. And I knew this was something I was going to do. I've never, ever had any doubt, like when I was growing up, that I was going to do another job. I just knew I would make money being myself. Didn't know that was going to be music. It could have been art. It could have been anything. I just, you know, I never even considered that, oh, maybe I should go that.
path. Yeah, and do that. I don't know. I just always knew that I would just do me somehow, and thankfully that's worked out so far. I mean, ask me again after this coronavirus fucking crisis. And
Oh God, don't say that.
Maybe I won't, but let's see.
Are there things that you both won't take for granted now after everything that's happened? I don't know how long either of you have been self-quarantining. I've been since the beginning of March, I've been self-quarantining.
Wow.
So,
Really? Oh my gosh.
So is there anything that you both know you won't take for granted?
Everything.
Yeah, smiling at people in the supermarket. I mean, I don't know if you've been to the supermarket recently, but oh my God,
it's getting a bit aggro, isn't it? Yeah.
Sketchy. So yeah, just
getting in the hot tub with all my friends.
Yeah. I don't know, nothing.
I don't think anybody will ever do that again, will they?
Get into a hot tub with their friends.
Or phone
with
parties,
like 10 people, yeah.
Oh,
Jesus,
yeah, what?
That's one of my earliest memories of going to a club, is a foam party in Newquay as a 16-year-old. I definitely shouldn't have been in there, and I got in with a fake ID, and it was one of the most surreal, awful experiences of my whole entire life.
I hate that I had the same experience, but
I think every teenage girl has a weird experience of a foam party. And
a foam party? Well, I don't even know what that is.
Did you not have a foam party? It's
no,
literally...
I think I missed out on this. I should be going to
He was too busy making hit records as a teenager.
That's true. How do either of you find music now? What is your, what are your tips? Like, how do you find the music that is inspiring you right now or able to influence you?
I'm DJing loads more, so I get sent a lot of promos from little labels, big labels, and Beatport and Tracksource and Juno Download and places like that. And largely, I'm just listening to, say, club tunes and dance music. I very, very rarely find myself sitting down trying to find new music that I don't already know exists. I've been listening to the Caribou album this week, but I already knew he exists. He wasn't a new artist to me, and I knew he had that new album out. So
it's so good.
I very rarely find myself wanting to find new music just for fun, because it's your day job. Making music, it's our day job. I listen to music all day. I make it, and if I'm not making it, I'm trying to find other tracks to play in sets. So very rarely do I. If I do get the moment to sit down and listen to music just in the background, it's usually stuff I'm already familiar with. I always find it so hard to describe the music, Ultraísta, what genre it sits in, and I think that's what makes it quite special to people and to fans. The cult, small amount of fans that we have, they love that about it. No, but they love that about it, that it is so different. It doesn't really sound like anything. You can hear lots of different influences in it, but you really can't put it in one specific box. But unfortunately, that might not help us in terms of the environment that we're releasing it in, because the platforms do favour certain music that ticks certain boxes, that works for the algorithm. So we find ourselves in a unique space, and I won't bemoan that space. I think it's a great space to be in, but it's not, it's got its pros and its cons, definitely, of not being able to, fit into one specific genre.
Sure, because there's always misconceptions. Like when you say Afrobeat, when that is attached to a genre, it's very, it's hard to move around that completely. And electronic it's such a wide, to say something is electronic is also such a wide scope.
Huge, yeah.
But I suppose, what do you both want to bring from those two genres that we named out to the world? Why is that important, that in terms of the way that you connect to it?
The rhythm is undoubtedly the driving force behind this project. The first demos pieces of music that Nigel ever played me, it was just drum, beat and bass lines, and that has always been just the fundamental kind of driving force behind a lot of the music is the rhythm. So I guess that's where that comes from. And then I think that's one of the great things about Ultraísta. It has a very those synth sounds and the space that the voice sits in. It has a very specific sound world, sonic. We've basically been able to create a little sonic signature, which I think is quite unique to this project, and it is quite electronic. But then at the same time, the rhythm, a lot of the rhythm stuff is very organic. So it's is this electronica? Is it indie music? It's it's quite alternative, but it's not new alternative. It's definitely not a rock band. I hate it when I see it described as a rock band, and a lot of people do describe it as a rock band.
What is something that either of you have learnt about one another, working with one another, like in this process?
You can send Laura a picture of any dog and she can tell you it's genetic makeup.
True.
No, I'm going to send you my dog. It's going to happen.
Yeah,
she can do it.
I'll have a good guess. Yeah.
Wait, like a genetic, but I mean, it's a rescue. How do you do that?
I just really good at knowing my breeds. That's all. Like, I have like one of the first books that I coveted as a kid was like a massive book on dog breeds, and I read this. The thing was like tattered and like completely fucked by the time I finished with it. But like that, I devoured that book on dog breeds for some strange reason, and so there you go. That's my mastermind subject.
I'll send that to you. So wait, so Nigel, you learned that Laura has a sixth sense with dogs.
Yes. She's very quiet about it, but she came out eventually.
And I learned that Nigel has a big soft spot for a cockapoo. So there you go.
Damn.
That's his kind of dog.
And also he can walk backwards very well.
There is a sort of way that you have to walk with the gimbal, actually, which is
he's very nimble with a gimbal. Aren't you?
That's going to be the headline to this.
Nimble with a gimbal, yeah.